I'm gonna get out of here now.
Oh shit.
We've all seen the high-octane car chase sequences in movies involving exotic cars, dangerous criminals, and more than likely Jason Statham. But this video will prove to you that real-life police chases can be just as crazy as they are in the movies and video games. Criminals have always come up with some incredibly creative ways to outmaneuver officers in hopes of escape. These efforts have rarely paid off, but they do lead to some pretty hot pursuits before ultimately getting caught. Welcome to Top 10 Trends, and here are 10 times when officers got a lot more than they bargained for during pursuits. Stay tuned till the end of the video to see what we think is the best and kind of wholesome chase of all time. But before we get into the list, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel and ring the bell so you don't miss any of our latest videos. Number 10. We've all heard the phrase, if you can't beat 'em, join 'em. Most of the time it's used figuratively, but what happens when someone takes this advice at face value? This was the case when a man decided to escape after stealing a pickup truck. He crashed a stolen vehicle in the desert, and in the resulting cloud of sand jumped out of the truck and ran into the bush, using the confusion to buy him some time. It looked like he might try to flee on foot or hide from the police, but what he actually did was insane and quite clever. He waited for the officers to start chasing him and then doubled back. He headed towards the abandoned police cruisers on the side of the road, completely unnoticed by the officers. Lucky for him, they left their cars unlocked and keys in the ignition. Helicopters watched and followed him as he took off in the stolen cruiser, and even passed by other officers that were on their way to offer support to his pursuers. This camouflage tactic worked for a while, but eventually they catch on to him when the car is reported stolen. After what must have been a very confusing chase, he's finally cornered and taken into custody. What a day it had to have been for the officers that had to chase down their very own patrol car. Number 9. A woman named Caitlin Rodriguez shocked Texas when her police chase became a family affair. The 29-year-old was caught speeding down Route 90 at a speed of 100 miles an hour after the cops tried to pull her over on an outstanding warrant. The woman knew she was wanted, so she thought that her best chance of freedom was a high-speed chase down the highway. It was revealed later that she wasn't the only one in the car when her Mercedes SUV crashed into the back of a pickup truck. She jumped out and retrieved her baby from the car seat. Then she dashed across several lanes of busy highway, avoiding cars with her baby still in hand, trying to steal herself a brand new ride. But carjacking, as you can see in the video, can't be that easy when you have a baby with you, and she gets busted before she can even get the car started. The baby was luckily unharmed and was taken out of the car and transferred to a safe place. Number 8. A 52-year-old woman, Julianne Rainbird, was stuck trying to evade the police in an RV after they tracked her down for identity theft. Rainbird bought the RV with the identity she had stolen, so when the identity theft was reported, the police were almost immediately on her trail. The cops approached the RV first, but Rainbird frantically raced away. It's obvious from the video that it was very difficult for her to gain control over the large vehicle, possibly because she was in a completely panicked state. Unable to drive properly through the traffic, she smashed into at least 6 cars and a palm tree on her way, causing more and more damage to the RV as she went. She even continued to drive with gaping holes in the vehicle. It later turned out that she wasn't alone in the vehicle and her 2 furry friends were accompanying her. At one point, her dog was fed up with the rough drive and decided to jump off the vehicle, but don't worry, he was fine with only minor injuries. Then, a second dog appeared, and it's clear from the video clip that he wishes to have jumped out too, but couldn't gather up the courage to do so. The RV finally came to a halt and Rainbird decided to escape running on foot, but she was quickly outrun by police and taken into custody. And her dogs, the unwilling accomplices to her reckless driving, were taken somewhere safe. Number 7. Running from the police in style seems better reserved for games like GTA, but 2 burglars in Los Angeles thought that they should turn being chased by police into a star-studded paparazzi moment. The 2 men drove down the Hollywood Boulevard in a Ford Mustang convertible and were seen eating donuts, dancing in the seats, fist pumping in the air, and genuinely having a great time while the cops chased them for about an hour and a half. Their chase even gained them plenty of followers as they live tweeted moments while watching them speeding down the busy boulevard. The chase stretched all the way to South LA, with the 2 men soaking up all the attention the whole time, before finally pulling over to take selfies while waiting for the police to catch up. It seems the duo wanted to go out in style as they complied peacefully with the officers when they did arrive. What would you do to take advantage of your 15 minutes of fame if you are being chased by police? Let us know in the comments. Number 6. A crash that could have ended very violently went down in Phoenix, Arizona. 31-year-old Mitchell Timothy tried to avoid capture when the police tried to stop him for a standard traffic violation. Instead of pulling over, Timothy decided to speed up, and the police had to resort to using stop sticks to try to slow him down. For those of you who don't know what that is, a stop stick is a tool used by officers to deflate the fleeing vehicle's tires to slow them down. Even with the police pulling out some of their tricks, he ignored them entirely and sped up even more. The police tried to box him in, but that didn't work either as he rammed a patrol car and drove away, continuing to pick up speed. Obviously, he had to slow down at some point, and cops were just hoping that he wouldn't collide with another vehicle in the way. But of course, all of this ended up with a head-on, high-speed collision between his vehicle and a black SUV. Smoke filled the air and the scenario didn't look good for either of the drivers. But amazingly, even after such a huge incident, both the drivers were safe and unharmed. Mitchell was then taken into custody and driven off at a much more reasonable speed in a patrol car. Number 5. Now we present you a man who stole a whole lumber truck and took it for a joyride through town and gave a whole new meaning to the term hot pursuit. The man was chased by police after he stole the vehicle, and surprisingly, he started doing donuts on a busy street. He was also waving at people and seemed to enjoy his ride, while the pedestrians cheered him on. But despite how the people were enjoying the show, the vehicle was badly swinging on the highway and blocking traffic. When the police started to pursue him, things got a little too hot for the driver, as one of his tires shot out and lost control over the vehicle. To make matters worse, the back of the truck caught fire. The fire continued to grow as he fled, and flaming debris started flying off the vehicle onto the highway, causing more and more danger for the passersby. He was eventually stopped and taken out of the vehicle before the fire could spread even more. Number 4. When we think of a getaway vehicle, we typically think of a car, but some fugitives might think an alternative is a better option. Just like this man in Los Angeles who stole a BMW sedan and was chased by cops. The driver sped away through red lights and weaved through traffic to escape, but eventually crashed into the back of a vehicle stopped in his way. But that didn't end it here for this thief. He figured out that leaving the car behind and taking up other means of transportation might save him, and that made him jump out of the stolen BMW with his long board in hand. He hopped on the board and started riding it on the sidewalk. He rode the board for about a block and then had to run into traffic again when his joyride was finally thwarted by a pickup driver who stopped and allowed the cops to corner him and catch up. I've heard a lot of crazy things, but fleeing on a skateboard? That has to be a first. Number 3. A drive through some wide open spaces might seem fun, but we're sure it was quite stressful for this Oklahoma driver. The man stole a truck and was chased by police through the country roads and then through wide open fields when they tried to corner him. The driver seemed to have fun at first, even driving donuts before another vehicle pulled up and shot at the truck. The truck driver panicked and drove through the fields and ended up landing in a pond while trying to escape the police. He then clumsily got out of the vehicle and trudged his way through the water as fast as his legs could carry him, which in this case was not very fast given the swampy and muddy conditions. The police initially had some trouble following him, but he was eventually caught and put drenching wet into the back of the police cruiser. We are sure he didn't imagine such a tragic and dirty end to his joyride. Number 2. It's not always experienced drivers, or even people of legal age who are chased by police. For example, this 10-year-old Ohio boy was taken into custody after leading police on a high-speed chase, which ended when troopers boxed him in along the Ohio Turnpike. But this wasn't the only joyride for this 10-year-old. A second chase took place just 2 weeks after the first one, and this time the boy was even more evasive as he drove off on a grassy embankment at a low speed to avoid the officer's stop sticks. A trooper was able to gently nudge the vehicle into a post with his cruiser and block his getaway. When the boy was asked why he took his parents' car for a ride, he said that the first time he was just bored, but the second time his mother took his PlayStation. Talk about a temper tantrum. Finally, number 1. That Ohio boy wasn't the only underage child who was arrested for taking out his parents' car. These 2 little ones were found talking to the Portage police chief for reckless and dangerous driving. Not even tiny children in their tiny cars are above the law. But jokes aside, some really young kids have been involved in police chases, like this 9-year-old driver and his 4-year-old passenger who was pulled over a second time for driving a car that they had stolen from their parents. While he was being chased, the 9-year-old landed the car in a ditch. Thankfully, he wasn't going too fast at the moment and wasn't injured. But we hope this is the last time that these 2 siblings decide to drive themselves to Grandma's house. So, that was our list. Tell us in the comments section which one was your favorite entry, and if you've ever seen a high-speed chase. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.